In this video, we're going to learn how to set up automated virus scanning for an Azure Blob Storage container through a simple Power Automate flow. By the time we're done, we'll be able to scan new or modified files in a blob storage container for viruses, malware, and other threats using Cloudmersive's advanced virus scan API. As a reminder, this will work the same in Logic apps. Before we get started, it's important to note that we'll need to upload the Advanced Virus Scan API to Power Automate as a custom connector before we start following along with the rest of this video. The custom connector spec will give us access to the Azure Blob Storage Scanning API path that we need. We've demonstrated how to upload this API as a custom connector in another video, and the link to that video is included in the video description below. This is a super easy process which shouldn't take more than a few minutes, and we can configure custom connectors with an endpoint from our Cloudmersive Enterprise account if we want to avoid using the default public cloud endpoint. Our custom connector will show up in the Custom Connector tab on our Power Automate homepage, and it will be accessible through the Custom Connector filter in our Flow Designer as well. We'll now get started building our flow. We'll click Create, then select the option to create an automated cloud flow, and we'll skip straight to the Flow Designer from there. We'll now add a flow trigger from the Azure Blob connector. There's only one trigger option available, and that's the when a blob is added or modified trigger we see here. After we select this trigger, we'll need to create a connection to access our Azure Blob Storage account in Power Automate. I already have a working connection set up which uses the access key authentication type. If we go that route, we just need to provide our storage account name or blob endpoint followed by our storage account access key. We can, however, use whichever one of the 4 authentication type options that works best for us. Once we've established our connection, we'll pick our Azure storage account name or blob endpoint from the initial dropdown. We'll then select the container our flow will trigger from in the following field. At the bottom of this window, we can specify the number of blobs we'd like to return per trigger. We'll now add the custom Cloudmersive Advanced Virus Scan API action we need into our flow. After we add a new action, we'll use the custom filter to show the custom connector we created for this flow. When we select that connector, we'll find and select the action for scanning Azure Blob containers. This action needs a few details from our Azure account to establish its own connection. First, it needs our private connection string and container name, both of which we can get from our Azure Blob Storage account blade. Following that, it needs the path or name of the blob we're scanning, which we'll pass down from the trigger action. We'll find our connection string in the Access Key tab of our Azure Blob Storage account blade. I won't be demonstrating this part on camera, but when we find that string, we just need to click Show, copy the string to our clipboard, and paste it in the connection string field of our virus scan action. I'm placing mine inside of a trim expression here just to avoid having to blot that out on my screen. After that, we can head back to our account blade, navigate to our containers, and copy the name of the container we're scanning new blob entries into. We'll then paste that name in the container name field in our virus scan action. Finally, to set the blob path, we'll open up our dynamic content and select the body name option from our trigger step. We can use the actual path as well, but using the name is much easier and more consistent. We'll notice we have some advanced parameters at the bottom of this action. We'll click Show All to enumerate these now. This is where we can set custom threat rules for our Advanced Virus Scan API request. In case you're unfamiliar with using the Advanced Virus Scan API, these parameters default to false, meaning dangerous content types like executables, invalid files, scripts, and others will be treated as threats by default. You can set any of these to true to treat that threat type as safe, though it isn't recommended. As a reminder, in Power Automate, yes corresponds to true and no corresponds to false. In the Restrict File Types parameter, you can whitelist file types by entering a comma-separated list of file extensions. This works like any whitelist, which means file types that aren't included in that list will be flagged by default. We will go ahead and save our flow now, and we'll run a test with the baseline configuration. Since we're testing an automated flow, we'll need to upload a file to our blob container to initiate the test. I have access to several inert test files on my machine, so I'll be testing this flow with an executable that's been renamed to look like a JPEG image. This type of extension change is a common obfuscation technique attackers use to trick extension-based validation procedures. But the API we're using looks inside the file to validate, so it will identify that mismatch right away. When our flow finishes running, we'll click on our virus scan action and head to the raw outputs to see the full API response body. As we can see in my example, the file got a clean result false response, which indicates the file is unsafe. The contains executable field is flagged, and there's no verified format available, which means the JPEG extension was deemed illegitimate. We'll also notice the content information block indicates the file doesn't contain an image, which is a major problem for something that's supposed to be an image file. For contrast, I'll skip ahead to a flow response showing what happens when a legitimate JPEG image is uploaded to my blob container instead. As we can see in this example, the legitimate image returned a clean result true response, indicating the file was safe and legitimate. None of the threat fields are flagged, and the file format is identified as JPEG. Below that, the content information block indicates that the image upload actually did contain an image, which is good news. And with that, we've concluded our demo. As always, if you have any questions after following along with this video, please do not hesitate to reach out to a member of our team.